Best David Hume quotes and sayings for inspiration. There is no such thing as freedom of choice unless there is freedom to refuse. All knowledge degenerates into probability. Reason is, and ought only to be, the slave of the passions. A wise man proportions his belief to the evidence. Beauty is no quality in things themselves, it exists merely in the mind which contemplates them, and each mind perceives a different beauty. The life of man is of no greater importance to the universe than that of an oyster. If God is omnipotent, omniscient and wholly good, whence evil? If God wills to prevent evil but cannot, then he is not omnipotent. If he can prevent evil but does not, then he is not good. In neither case he is not God. Be a philosopher, but, amid all your philosophy, be still a man. No amount of observations of white swans can allow the inference that all swans are white, but the observation of a single black swan is sufficient to refute that conclusion. Anticipation of pleasure is, in itself, a very considerable pleasure. Truth springs from argument amongst friends. Anything that is conceivable is possible. Generally speaking, the errors in religion are dangerous, those in philosophy only ridiculous. A miracle is the violation of the laws of nature, and as a firm and unalterable experience has established these laws, the proof against a miracle, from the very nature of the fact, is as entire as any argument from experience can possibly be imagined. A little philosophy makes a man an atheist, a great deal converts him to religion. Superstition is an enemy to civil liberty. For my part, when I enter most intimately into what I call myself, I always stumble on some particular perception or other, of heat or cold, light or shade, love or hatred, pain or pleasure. I never can catch myself at any time without a perception, and never can observe anything but the perception. Beauty, whether moral or natural, is felt, more properly than perceived. Time is a perishable commodity. Self-denial is a monkish virtue. Custom is the great guide to human life. The heart of man is made to reconcile the most glaring contradictions. A propensity to hope and joy is real riches, one to fear and sorrow real poverty. Morals excite passions, and produce or prevent actions. Reason of itself is utterly impotent in this particular. The rules of morality, therefore, are not conclusions of our reason. It is an absurdity to believe that the deity has human passions, and one of the lowest of human passions, a restless appetite for applause. This avidity alone, of acquiring goods and possessions for ourselves and our nearest friends, is insatiable, perpetual, universal, and directly destructive of society. The great subverter of Pyrrhonism or the excessive principles of skepticism is action, and employment, and the occupations of common life. Nothing is pure and entire of a piece. All advantages are attended with disadvantages. A universal compensation prevails in all conditions of being and existence. The supposition that the future resembles the past is not founded on arguments of any kind, but is derived entirely from habit. Philosophy would render us entirely Pyrrhonian, were not nature too strong for it. Nothing is more favorable to the rise of politeness and learning, than a number of neighboring and independent states, connected together by commerce and policy. The most lively thought is still inferior to the dullest sensation. He is happy whom circumstances suit his temper, but he is more excellent who suits his temper to any circumstance. Curiosity, or the love of knowledge, has a very limited influence, and requires youth, leisure, education, genius and example to make it govern any person. Nothing exists without a cause, the original cause of this universe we call God. In all ages of the world, priests have been enemies of liberty. The imagination of man is naturally sublime, delighted with whatever is remote and extraordinary, and running, without control, into the most distant parts of space and time in order to avoid the objects, which custom has rendered too familiar to it. Men often act knowingly against their interest. Great pleasures are much less frequent than great pains. The law always limits every power it gives. While we are reasoning concerning life, life is gone. Which is more likely, that the whole natural order is suspended, or that a Jewish minx should tell a lie? It is seldom that liberty of any kind is lost all at once. Slavery has so frightful an aspect to men accustomed to freedom, that it must steal upon them by degrees, and must disguise itself in 1,000 shapes, in order to be received. The minds of men are mirrors to one another, not only because they reflect each other's emotions, but also because those rays of passions, sentiments and opinions may be often reverberated, and may decay away by insensible degrees. Mankind are so much the same, in all times and places, that history informs us of nothing new or strange in this particular. Its chief use is only to discover the constant and universal principles of human nature. No man ever threw away life while it was worth keeping. The rules of morality are not the conclusion of our reason. That the sun will not rise tomorrow is no less intelligible a proposition, and implies no more contradiction, than the affirmation, that it will rise. The identity that we ascribe to things is only a fictitious one, established by the mind, not a peculiar nature belonging to what we're talking about. Beauty in things exists in the mind which contemplates them.